Hey, what's up guys? It's OneWorld and I have a new mic finally. This one might not sound that much better yet, but I haven't really figured out how to use it yet, so in the future it will sound a lot better. Some good news as well for my upload schedule. I will be uploading a lot more frequently now. My semester's pretty much over, so I will have a lot more free time. Now, to get into the topic, I may have to break this idea into a few separate videos because in the original video, I kind of crammed it all together and it felt very disorganized. So I will be updating the information and breaking it into maybe 3 videos. This video will be on Paramecia awakenings, and of course the other videos will be on the other types. Now, it may seem surprising, but I believe we have the most information and detail on what a Paramecia awakening may entail. Now, going back to Luffy versus Doflamingo, who are both Paramecias, we have a sort of description of specifically what Doflamingo is able to do when he awakens. Now, when Doflamingo described awakening, for him at least, he said that it affects both his body and his environment, which is strange because many people associate awakening with only affecting your environment. So based on what he said here, it affects his body and his environment, which is very important because this could give us details as to what awakening exactly does for everybody. And before that, he stated that Luffy could not properly control his devil fruit, which is probably a result of not being able to awaken his powers. Now, the reason I say Doflamingo's description only applies to him is because when we consider other Paramecia users like Luffy, Buggy, they can already affect their body. However, they cannot affect their environment. However, we do know that Doflamingo cannot affect his body with his strings normally. He is only able to create strings, and when he awakens, he is able to affect both his environment and his body. Now, obviously, he is able to turn buildings into string. However, he is also able to repair his internal organs with string, and he used this against Law when Law used his gamma knife. Now, this string repair allows his body to naturally repair itself while he was fighting. So this could actually be an explanation for why he said it affects his body and his environment. And this all begins to make sense when you consider all of the different subclasses of Paramecia. Now, it's never been directly stated, however, it is fairly evident that there are 3 different types of Paramecia. Now, first off, we have people who affect their own body. This includes Luffy, Buggy, Alvida, and many others who can't affect the environment and they can't produce their own element. However, they can change the property of their own body. Then we have creators or producers who can create an element or material. However, they cannot turn the environment into their material, or they can't turn their own body into the material. Now, this includes Doflamingo, Magellan, Mr. 3, people who create a certain material. And as we know, Doflamingo can only affect his environment when he's awakened, and he can sort of affect his body as well. Now, lastly, we have people who can only affect their environment, and this includes people like Foxy, Boa Hancock, and even Pika, because he could affect the stone around him, but he couldn't create stone and he couldn't turn into stone. And similar with Boa and Foxy, they could affect stuff around them, however, they couldn't affect their own body and they couldn't produce an element. Now, we know this limits them a lot because compared to Logias are able to turn into their element, they are able to produce their element, and in many cases, like with Crocodile, he is able to dry stuff up or turn stuff into sand. And this could explain why Logias are one of the strongest classes of devil fruits. Now, going back to Doflamingo's explanation, he basically says that he is able to affect the stuff around him and he is able to affect his own body. Now, we know that Doflamingo is a producer and he produces his element. However, when he awakens, he gains the abilities of the other classes of Paramecia. Even Luffy says it's like he's not a Paramecia anymore because Paramecias are so limited in what they can do. Now, this makes even more sense in my opinion when we consider Magellan. Now, Magellan is a producer-style Paramecia. He is able to produce poisons of all kind, but he can't turn into poison and he can't turn the stuff around him into poison or affect the environment under normal conditions. However, when he entered his red venom demon form, things changed significantly. When Magellan activates this form, it's very convincing that this could be related to awakening for many reasons. Not only is he able to produce stronger venom, he is also able to poison the environment itself. He even states that in this form, he is able to destroy all of Impel Down, and if that's not affecting the stuff around him, then I'm not sure what is. So it's possible that in this form, he is able to, much like Doflamingo, go beyond the limitations of a Paramecia. Now, bringing up Logias again, it is possible that since Logias don't have these types of limitations, that maybe once you awaken your powers as a Paramecia, you are able to compete with Logias. We even see with Cracker that Cracker went beyond the limitations of a regular Paramecia. He is able to produce infinite biscuits that are even powerful enough to resist hockey-based attacks from Gear 4th. He states that he has evolved his biscuits to perfection. We also see that much like Doflamingo, Cracker is able to turn the environment and stuff around him into biscuits. So it seems very likely once again that Cracker is awakened or has at least mastered his fruit in some way. So we see, at least with Paramecia awakenings, that once you awaken, you are able to use the abilities of other classes of Paramecia, and you are able to master your element or turn it into a much more efficient version. So to put it all into perspective, perhaps with Luffy, for example, once he awakens, he could maybe produce rubber, or he could turn the stuff around him into rubber as well. We also know that there are many types of rubber, some that are more efficient than others. I brought this up in a previous video, but maybe once Luffy awakens, he could use vulcanized rubber to basically harden his body and allow him to use Gear 4th even longer. And through breaking these limits with awakening, he could compete with many other devil fruits which are naturally stronger. Now, this isn't where awakenings could end for Paramecias. One of the things I talked about in my previous video is that devils are obviously spirits that exist in your stomach. That has been explained for a very long time. And once you eat a devil fruit, the devil within the fruit is stored within your body, and it sort of just chills out for a while and gives you its power. Now, with Big Mom and Brook, we know that spirits and souls obviously exist in One Piece, so it's possible that the devils within the fruits are spiritual beings that actually have some type of persona. And we know that this is very possible because with cursed swords, for example, we know that they have their own personalities. Zoro has explained his cursed sword as having its own temper and almost having a mind of its own. Now, there are several reasons to believe that the devils within the fruits actually have their own control over the user. For example, in Monster Point, Chopper is unable to control himself and he begins to become sort of possessed by this form. And with the awakened zones in Impel Down, we see that in that case, they become very animal-like and they begin to sort of lose their human nature. And perhaps one of the greatest examples in Paramecias is Magellan. Magellan's red venom demon form resembles an obvious demon or devil, and before turning into this form, we see that his eyes turn red momentarily. Maybe this was sort of a possession that allowed him to awaken the devil within him. Thus, of course, why awakenings are named awakening, because they awaken the devil within you. Now, I would like to once again bring up Luffy. Both Zoro and Sanji have shown signs of awakening demons or sort of anti-gods within them. For example, Ashura is a anti-god in Hindu mythology, and with Satan or the devil, in Sanji's case, that is an anti-god in Christianity or whatever other religion. So even though Zoro and Sanji are not devil fruit users, they have still manifested their spirits into these forms. So much like Enel, Magellan, and Monet, who have all shown signs of these inner demons, maybe Luffy will awaken his inner demon, and maybe like Zoro and Sanji, he will begin to transform, and this could be what Gear 5th eventually becomes. And he has already shown signs of beginning to awaken already. In Gear 4th, his chest has the same swirly patterns as his devil fruit, and even his eyes begin to sort of change. So maybe in the future, Luffy's full awakening form will be much like Magellan or the others, and it could be a representation of Sun Wukong, and once again, he could use different types of rubber, and of course, he could affect the environment or become much like a producer. So of course, as usual, these are my own ideas, and I could be wrong, but I think that some of these points are very convincing in my opinion. And if you also found them convincing, please drop a like or subscription if you want. But other than that, I will have a few more videos out this week. So look forward to those, and I will see you all next time.